Please welcome to the stage Runway Head of Enterprise Growth and Deployment, Eddy Lee.
So I want to start off with an honest confession. I've been in hundreds, maybe thousands of AI demos. And the amazing part is that every single one of them actually works. But that's the problem. Because we've gotten so good at getting that wow moment. Every deck, every pilot, every stage demo, it all wows and it all works. But from all of the hundreds and thousands of AI demos that I've seen, I also have seen what happens afterwards. And that is a very, very different story. I'll give you an example. A few weeks ago, we did a demo with a Fortune 500 creative team. We walked them through Runway, gave them the spiel, and a 20-year veteran even looked at me and said, "Holy cow," and then took out his phone to start recording it. And then the head of marketing turns around to me and says, "We need to roll this out immediately to our whole 200-person team." I mean, that's the dream, right, for any company in this position. Executive sponsorship, day one enthusiasm, immediate scale. What we did instead was actually quite different. We said, don't do it. Not yet. The reason why is because we've seen this happen hundreds of times, and we know what would have happened right afterwards. Our prediction, in about 90 days or so, we'd all be confused. Why is adoption so low? And they would have just said, hey, AI is just not ready yet. We might have to move on. But that's what I want to talk about today. Not the wow, but what comes afterwards. And here's what I learned. Everyone talks about the wow, the demo, the pilot, the exec who championed it, but nobody talks about what happens just a few months later. The creative director who tried it once, got an output, got a bad output, and told the whole team it just wasn't ready yet. Or the producer who didn't have time to go and figure out exactly how to work with the new workflows, play with the tool, and then just went back to what works. Or the marketer who got 3 competing tools from 3 different vendors and had no time to go and work with any of them. I see some of you potentially nodding because this resonates. Some of you may have partnered with us to build these rollouts. Some of you have funded them. I think some of you are here because you might fund it after this summit here. But here's what makes this so remarkable, because right now is such an important time, because we are so genuinely early. Video today makes about 70% of all internet traffic today. But yet, when you look at organizations, about 55% or so of all organizational communication is still very much written. And we believe that organizations will look more and more like the internet today. Or when it comes to adoption, only about 1 in 10 US businesses actually go and use AI, according to the latest US Census Bureau. But in fall 2023, that number was close to 3.7%. The thing is, that gap between what's possible and what organizations are actually doing, that is the opportunity in this room today, and I'd assume why everyone is here. And the teams who figure out exactly what comes after the wow, those are the teams that will actually define what the next era of our industries will go and look like. So here's a map. Here's a solution. Here are the 3 solutions that we've come up with from the many, many roadblocks that we've seen. Phase 1, or solution 1, go narrow. The reason why is because the wow fades very, very quickly, especially when you try to do too much too soon. But the fix is very counterintuitive. Pick the most important use cases, slow down, and let it be undeniable before you scale. Phase 2 is give permission to be bad. Your teams are likely not resistant to AI. What they are resistant to is becoming beginners again, especially after 10 or 20 or even 30 years of mastery of what works. And phase 3 is commit to the change. See, the thing about today and what you'll learn over and over again is that the technology works, but the organizations aren't built around it yet. And the reason why most integrations fails are not because the tools don't deliver, it's because the org won't let it, because the fix requires actually committing to the change. So I'll start with phase 1. Phase 1 failure looks like this. You get the wow moment, you get the executive buy-in, you launch broadly, and one creative director tries it, especially on the wrong project, sends a Slack message to the whole 40-person creative team and says, I don't think it's ready yet. And that's it. That one message, that's going to travel further than all of your whole rollout strategy. The creative director who didn't have time to finish the brief, the producer locked into a delivery deadline, a producer or a marketer spinning up another social campaign, that frustration becomes the whole organization's verdict. See, the companies that succeed don't actually scale first. Again, they counterintuitively go narrow first. One project, one team, one use case. And our message here is very simple. Let it be small until it's undeniable. So here's just one example and how this actually looks like in practice. A professional services firm came to us with a big vision. They said, we want to go and automate the whole process of creating a client pitch video, end-to-end, completely using Runway. It's very tempting just to say yes, let's do it. But we didn't start there. Instead, we suggested, hey, let's just start with one thing to make it undeniable. Let's focus on localization. Take one core piece of content and make it market ready across 6 different regions. No need to have 6 shoots, 6 external teams, 6 timelines, no. All on Runway. And we nailed it. We made it undeniable, and then we expanded. And now they're one of our closest partners. The lesson, the vision, it can be very, very big, but the first bet has to be very, very small. Phase 2 is quieter than phase 1. It actually doesn't really look like failure. It typically goes and looks like low adoption. And again, your teams are not resistant to AI, they're resistant to becoming beginners again. Think about who is in your creative organization. The director with 15 years of experience, or the producers who've spent $50 million on production budgets, editors who are genuinely world-class at what they do. You're asking them to open up a whole new tool, generate something likely quite mediocre, and then share it publicly in a review. See, the ironic part is that's actually not a technology problem. That is a very human-centric identity problem. And what we found is that the turning point is never really just one single workshop or one training session, because that won't really change adoption behavior. What changes behavior is actually quite simple. The teams watch someone who they genuinely respect, try the tool, generate something mediocre, and be honest about the mess it took to get from what they created to what the end output should be. See, the lesson that we have here is that you don't actually train your way into adoption. You create psychological safety for your teams to go and experiment. We'll give you another example. BBC Morning Live is one of the most popular morning TV shows in England. About 2 to 6 million people watch it every single day. And we partnered with them on something genuinely exciting and cutting edge. And we'll show you. Here's what happened.
What we're doing, we're going to be joined by Ava. Now, Ava is a completely computer-generated avatar. We wanted to showcase exactly what AI can do, but this is experimental. Okay, we absolutely do not know what she's going to say here. A little bit nervous, but let's get her on the show. Good morning, Ava.
Completely live. Welcome, Ava. How are you doing today?
I'm very well, thank you.
Oh, okay.
Looking forward to our chat.
I think Ava has a problem with her Wi-Fi, which is a very real experience. It happens all the time.
She sounds a bit like me at 6 o'clock this morning, if I'm honest.
Try again.
See, that's real. That's what the frontier actually looks like. But we could have easily given up. But we stayed in it. We stayed in the room and we iterated. And just a few minutes later, this is what happened afterwards.
Welcome back, Ava. Have you enjoyed the show so far?
It's been wonderful, thank you. But tell me, have you had any gardening questions yourself?
Oh.
Perhaps about starting seeds indoors this time of year?
We've had lots of questions from Morning Live viewers, actually, Ava. So this first question is from Tracy. She asks, how do I check what type of soil I have?
Ah, a great question from Tracy. The easiest way is to try the squeeze test. Take a handful of damp soil from your garden and squeeze it. If it falls apart quickly, it's likely sandy. If it holds a tight ball but crumbles when you prod it, you might have loam. And if it stays clumped tightly and feels sticky, that's probably clay. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it sounds right to me, but I'm not the expert. Mark, you like a squeeze test, I know that.
I do like a squeeze test. That was absolutely perfect. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. I mean, obviously you can just look at it.
See, that's what happens when you give permission to be bad, on the way to being good. Every partnership that we build is on the edge of what's really possible. And it doesn't always land perfectly, as I'm sure you've seen on the first try, but that's actually not failure. That's actually the work to get to what good looks like. And the organizations that understand that are the ones that end up with the breakthroughs. Phase 3 is where you find out if the organization actually wants to go and change. And here's the truth. Most of the time, it doesn't. Not because the teams are bad or the technology is not there. It's because transformations ask organizations to let things they built, their workflows, their processes, their job definitions, to become very, very different. And the organizations that we've actually seen change stop treating this like a software procurement. And instead, they pulled us in. And as a result, we stopped leading with features, new updates, but rather, we started getting embedded in the briefs, in the production processes, in the rooms where decisions were actually being made to lend our direct expertise. An example of this is that a few months ago, a financial services firm had spent about $5 million the year before on a marketing campaign that, quite frankly, didn't land very well. And so they came to Runway and they said, hey, we want to partner with you all to go and create this commercial end-to-end with us. So we did it. We ran the trainings, we onboarded the teams, we did everything right on paper. And adoption was still very, very slow and low. And we couldn't figure out why. So we stopped sending decks and emails, but instead, we actually asked, hey, can we just sit in your meetings? Can we go and actually be a participant in this process with you? And that's when we saw it. What they were using Runway for is just like any other tool. What they would do is they would open up Runway, generate an image, download the image, put it on a slide, put some speech bubbles on a slide, put a whole PowerPoint presentation deck together, and then there we go. That was the storyboard and the processes that they were very much used to. But they had Runway, and they were using it like it was clip art. And so what we did was, why don't we go and restructure how you're actually working with the tools? And why don't we structure exactly what you're building towards? And let's also define very concretely together, what does success actually look like? And this is what happened. Within 3 days, we were able to create a 1-minute commercial with about $5,000 or less. Same technology, but different outcomes. Because we were in the room together, and we could go and change how they worked together. So if there's 3 things, it's go narrow, give permission to be bad, and commit to the change. None of these things actually work in isolation. I mean, think about it. You could pick the right use case, and it'll still kill adoption. Why? Because your teams are afraid to become a beginner again. Or you can build psychological safety and still fail. Why? Because the organization just doesn't want to go and change around the tools that are available. When all 3 come together, that's when we see results really compound. And this is the only thing that we've seen work, not the wow moment. And so if there's one thing I want to go and leave everyone here with, it's this. The next era of creativity, of AI, will not be defined by who has the best tools. It won't be defined by who has the biggest budgets. It'll be defined by who is actually willing to change how they work. Because right now, the wow is incredibly easy. Every tool in the industry can go and give you the wow. What comes afterwards, the narrow bets, the permission to be a beginner, the organizational commitment to actually change, that's actually where it gets really hard. But that's also where it gets really interesting. And for everyone in the room here today, I think that's where the real story begins. Thank you, everyone.